10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the rocket pool community. My name is Wack. Today is January 11th, and we're going to start here with a really cool landmark that Jasper shared. So the first one is this screenshot from DeFi Llama, and DeFi Llama says that Rocket Pool's protocol total value locked is $3.209 billion. So we know that, the RPL token had a huge pump, and that is contributing significantly to the TVL here. And of course, the staking has been growing slowly, but this is how they're working out over here. So that's what DeFi Llama is saying, and that has put us really nicely on, I think, number 6 on the DeFi Llama leaderboard for Ethereum ecosystem projects with in the rank of TVL. However, there is, as always with those numbers, some finer considerations to make, and we in the Rocket Pool Discord tend to trust in Phiz's numbers more than we trust DeFi Llama's numbers. So when Jasper used the bot here to get DeFi Llama's the Invis bot, his Rocket Watch numbers, it says that it's around 1,032,000 ETH in total, or 2.699 billion DAI. So 2.699 or $2.7 billion basically. So this is a really cool growth for Rocket Pool in the last few days, and of course, the token price increase is a huge part of that growth. So it's really great, absolutely wonderful to see that we've hit those landmarks and milestones, and the price will fluctuate, it'll go up and down, but as the value of the RPL token gets higher, then these numbers should get higher as well. And of course, if we start bringing more stake online, then that is a really great way to get the TVL numbers up also. So yesterday, as I was recording Rocket Fuel, the news of the ETF broke during my episode, and I was able to cover some of the news in the episode, and I even posted in trading while I was actually recording the episode. So you can see that I was a little bit late because I was kind of distracted with other things. But here, the news broke at, well, I said it at 47, and the news broke at 44 here from Meek. So Meek, I was 3 minutes late, which when you consider that I was actually recording an episode at the time, I think that's pretty respectable. So we got news from a tier 10k first, and then there was the SEC that released this PDF, but then it got taken down. So we didn't know if the website got too much activity and it went down, or whether the file was released a few minutes earlier than I wanted it to be released. But the official announcement of the ETF came at 4:34 Eastern time. So after the markets had closed, at that point, RPL was doing well, ETH was doing well, everything was looking really good, and then the official word came through. So it was totally expected. I was talking to Pat on Weekly Orbit earlier today when we were recording it about how people, even until yesterday morning, were sure that the ETF was going to get rejected, and I honestly couldn't fathom what was going on in their minds to reach that decision. So yeah, so now we have a look at the the ETFs going today, and we can see here that this is from Eric Balkunas earlier. So this is actually not the latest number, but at that time there was over $1 billion worth of action in the market. Let's see if these got an updated number here. No, I don't think he has an updated number as far as I can see. Yeah, but over $1 billion. I think right now it looks like it's over $2 billion worth of activities been happening, but some of them are really big, and some of the activity was coming from the futures ETF that is available for Bitcoin, and some of it was coming from Grayscale's BTC Trust. So for that, he was kind of discounting the numbers from those two, but even without those two, the numbers were really huge. So it was looking pretty good. I think he was on Bankless earlier today as well, and he was saying that we really need to see what it looks like over the next couple of days and into next week, as we'll be able to like really gather the information that we need at that period. Right now, there's still some question marks about how it's all coming together and what the flows are looking like. But it's a very, very, very strong first day. In fact, it's the all-time high for an ETF launch, and the BlackRock one alone has beaten the all-time high before, was Beto's futures Bitcoin, and then as Eric says here, as a group they've all easily beaten it. But I think BlackRock alone now has beaten that as well. So it's pretty cool that the previous record has been beaten today, and it just builds up hype around Bitcoin, which is really cool. However, as the day went on, some news came through about brokers giving or not giving access to the Bitcoin ETFs. So here James said, reports that Vanguard is completely blocking customer access to publicly listed SEC approved Bitcoin ETFs, and customers can now only sell GBTC, they can't buy it. So it says interesting business choice. So here Indian Hold says, I can confirm I can sell GBTC, but I can't buy anything else like iBay or FBTC, etc. And then people were talking about how like this just doesn't make sense. Like they were really disappointed that Vanguard was kind of taking a moral high ground on this. So a lot of posts like this from Neil started coming through saying, I have a retirement account in Vanguard. I called them today and said they will not be offering any of the Bitcoin ETFs. I'm working on transferring assets out of there, and I will close my Vanguard account. Terrible business decision by Vanguard. So here we then see that these companies are literally limiting themselves because their competitors will happily take their money. A whole lot of people are saying Fidelity have good crypto rails and crypto access, so that is an option for customers if Vanguard won't allow it. But of course, I'm not here to endorse any of these companies or protocols, institutions, whatever you want to call them. Please do your own research and find out which one is best for you and gives you access to the products that you want. Okay, so in all the celebration yesterday of the ETF, here we had Phiz working with Shifrin put out this POAP, which is a Bitcoin spot ETF approval POAP. So it's orange, and it's got people kind of like a party in the background, but you can't really see the people. You can just see fireworks and balloons and ticker tape and stuff. You can have a look at that. They've already sold 75 of these POAPs, and the cost is 0.01 ETH, so it's around $26-27. And it looks like a nice POAP. Let me see if we can get you a better view of it. There you go. And it says, on January 10th, 2024, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, led by Gary Gensler, granted approval to spot Bitcoin ETF applications from multiple providers. The Ethereum community applauds Bitcoin's adoption and successes, and we joyfully join in celebration with you. The POAP design credited to Shifrin is a symbol of this milestone. All proceeds generated from the distribution of this POAP will be directed to Brink, supporting the continual development of Bitcoin. So that's where the payment will go. So if you got that POAP, good job. And yeah, it's nice that we have POAPs for big occasions. So during that whole ETF approval, the market's like doing crazy stuff. So at 4:02, after the first announcement and before the official announcement, Henri came into Discord here and he shared a screenshot of a Beacon Chain email saying your validator submitted a proposal, and then it says blah blah blah, and the amount is 6.39 ETH as a reward. So people like instantly like, hey, that's really cool. And Albert was saying, I hope you're not in the smoothing pool. And Henri replied by saying, my gambling addiction and not being in the smoothing pool is paying off. So he got a nice, I think $5,000 worth of a lottery block. So congratulations to him. I guess it was a super extra nice day for Henri here. Okay, so talking about Rocket Pool now, with everything that's been going on these last couple of days, the RPL token is one of the tokens that has responded most strongly to the news. And I guess just like, the ETH beta play is now in, where there's this idea that, the narrative has shifted from Bitcoin to Ethereum, and then from Ethereum, the narrative has shifted to the Ethereum ecosystem tokens potentially having more space to run than Ethereum itself, because Ethereum, of course, is such a large market cap token. And here, on CoinGecko yesterday, we saw that the RPL token went up to number 96, and it went up as the number one highest climbing token on the day, and one of the stronger climbing tokens on the week as well. So this was a really nice period for RPL. Let's have a look at CoinGecko now, because the price actually has done well since then. So yeah, this is still at number 96. So it's looking quite strong there. Let me see if I can give you a better view of the screen. Yeah, it's right here, number 96. And of course, for those of you who remember during the all-time high against ETH in the lead up to Atlas and Shanghai, we reached number 44, I think. So we've got a long ways to go before we get up to those levels again. I think to be there, our market cap would have to be around 3 times higher basically than what it is right now. So there's still some ways to go to get to those like dizzying heights again. But hopefully, we can make our way there over the course of this next year or 18 months, however long the bull market takes. Okay, and then just with that, other groups and people were also talking about how good RPL's performance was. So here Coinbase was sending out alerts to their users saying RPL is a top mover on Coinbase. RPL is up 18.51% to $36.03 in the last 24 hours. So this was like yesterday evening. However, overnight RPL was going gangbusters. It just didn't want to stop, and it actually peaked at $39.44, which was an incredibly strong performance. On the ratio, it hit 0.01492, which is the highest it's been in a few months, I think, in all honesty. And that just shows that the RPL has been doing really well. Now, normally, when tokens pump 25, 30, 40% in a matter of days, there's always this fear that it's going to retrace, it's going to do something that in the crypto community we like to call BART, like it climbs up really fast, kind of does a jagged line across and then goes down really fast. However, it seems like so far, and I don't want these words to be like the kiss of death, but it seems like it's holding on to some of those gains quite well. Like we're just about 6% down from the highs from yesterday. The great thing is, now that we've got a little bit more time to look at the chart, you can see that on the daily time frame, we're comfortably ahead that local accumulation zone that we've had since November. In November we had that spike up to around the $34-$35 level, and since then we've just kind of ranged between the those low 30s, 33 to 34, and about $25 on the low side. So we kind of bounced around in that range. And now that we've broken out of that range, you can see that, actually, let me show you the 3-day chart instead, because you can see a little bit more clearly there. So as you can see, on that fall from the all-time high, this is actually now the highest value we've had since pretty much July 13th. So it's been a good 6 months basically since we've reached these numbers, and that's really exciting. So I think it looks like we are breaking out. Actually, I can kind of see a little bit of a cup and handle pattern here in the 3-day chart. So if that works out, then that should be taking us to all-time highs potentially. Let me see if Binance has the pen drawing tool. Yes, it does. So if you can draw the ball over here, and then you've got that's the cup, and then there's the handle. I don't really believe in TA, of course. I just think it's astrology for crypto bros or trading bros, but people believe it, so it can be a little bit of fun. But if that's a cup and handle, then you can potentially see a move up to the depth of the height of the cup to the depth of the cup, and then add that to where we are after we break out the handle. So it could take us from around $15, $16, into the mid 40s potentially, or to $50 mark. So this, of course, is not financial advice at all. It's just trash TA talk, but some people find it fun, so I thought I'd cover it. Now, that's my trash TA. However, we do have some legit TA happening in the Rocket Pool community, and this is Find Your Moon, who I've covered on Rocket Fuel a whole bunch of times. and Finding Moon like gives really good advice, and like kind of explains what he's seeing in the chat in the charts and the patterns. So he says, what a day, right? The big picture first, because it's been a while since we've looked at it. So he said, start in the upper left with the all-time high, then follow that down to the cycle low at 880. Since then, we've seen two major 1-2 setups, the primary cycle in yellow and the intermediary waves in pink and green. Now then, the yellow wave is big and will unfold over the next 2 to 4 years. So don't get too hyped yet. Nevertheless, the pink curve completes yellow 3, and guess what? We're only in wave 3 of that pink impulse, which means there's a whole lot of additional scope in the relative near term. Short and sweet, the orange box lays out the approximate range from 2,837 to 4,261, and that's just for wave 3 of the yellow structure, solid AF, right? So now he's showing the chart. So if you have a look at the chart, basically he's drawing the lines from the all-time high down to the July 2022 lows, and then he's kind of drew out the wave pattern. So it looks like, you know, in the next 6 months or so, we should be somewhere between $2,800, which, you know, we're on the verge of right now, all the way up to $4,200 or so. So that's kind of like the range he's given. But then, of course, you know, he says that this is just the step up 2 of 3 on the big yellow move. So if you're using the big yellow move, then, you know, he expects there to be some kind of retracement back to the $2,800 range, and then he shows the upper side of the cycle. So this is where he thinks the cycle high is going. So he thinks in around June of 2026, it's going to be ETH is going to be around 75, well, between 5,500 and 8,000, about 9,000 basically. So let's see what Moon has to say about it to explain it. So he says, he says, okay, here's the upper right side, 5,799 to 8,818, again approximately, probably in the 2025 to 2026 timeframe. What's next though will break the all-time high based on the current wave durations. That's likely to happen somewhere between Q3 of 2024 and Q4 of 2025. So the ranges of time here are quite big. So people then, here he goes and zoomed in. He says, and here's a zoomed in typical update chart with upside targets of 25.96, which we've already gone past, 28.89, which he thinks might act as resistance, or 31.18. So those are the numbers that he's kind of looking at in like the short term, in like this is the next, you know, few weeks. He thinks that it might be looking at some of these numbers. So Jasper says that the all-time high in Q3, Q4 aligns with potential ETF target dates as well. So it could be, you know, fundamentals driving TA, driving fundamentals. And then he goes on, he says anything's possible to it. Just remember that the waves are not the best for judging times or durations. So it's definitely possible that it happens earlier this year. So then he goes on to the RPL chart. He says, here's the other killer chart. RPL now come up to just below the 200-day SMA, which is the simple moving average. And he says it's looking like it may have enough momentum to break through it. This is the key level to overcome and retest from above is 0.0144, which is the ETH ratio. On the ETH ratio, he says if it happens, then we should see a relatively quick rise to 0.0162, which is the gateway to ratios above 0.02. So the chart then, you know, after Moon put out the chart, RPL did go higher on the ratio. It went up to around 0.015, just a tiny bit below that. So it seems like, you know, then what Moon wanted to see there was RPL to come down and, you know, kind of find support at that 0.0144 number and then move back up from there. However, sadly today, you know, it went through that and it's now currently around the 0.0139 or 0.014 range. So it looks like, you know, there might be a break in the pattern there, but as long as we get above that 0.0144 number, then I think Moon would say that there's upside potential there. So Moon, you know, went on to give other TA advice that he does as well, like in his kind of daily digest, but those I think are the ones that are most interesting to some of you all. So I thought I would cover that here. Okay, next we had Val here talking about the OpenUx report, you know, that we covered in yesterday's episode, and that was released. You know, the report about node operator user experience was released during yesterday's. Well, it was released yesterday, but with all the hype of the ETF, it was kind of missed. So Val kind of came back to it and live blogged his reading through it. So he was giving like, a point by page summary, like when things stood out to him. So he was talking about like, what's lack of urgency, and then he had some comments about some of the different plots and how some of the numbers lined up with other things. And he was just kind of giving ideas about like the feedback to the report itself. So there's some interesting ideas here that Val shares. One of the interesting ideas that came up actually was that it might be a good idea for the GMC to fund a competitor to all nodes. Well, to fund a service like a non-custodial staking service. So he actually even went and wrote a bounty for it and submitted it to the GMC for the next period. So let's have a look at what Val says here. He says, non-custodial staking as a service. What's the nature is that, all nodes is great. It'd be better to have one or more competitors out there because they've got a big share of the Rocket Pool nodes. He says in the worst case scenario, the Rocket Pool validators could act as a part of a cabal or self/to grief. Limiting that set is useful. Also note that all nodes has quite a lot of stake from Lido and others, so they're a centralizing force. So he goes in here and talks about what it might look like, how it would work, and paying $20,000 for milestone 1 and $60,000 for milestone 2, and then the company itself would actually be a business, right? So that it would make its own money. So there's that aspect to it as well that the GMC, I guess, would have to consider and put those ideas together for it. But this was a nice post from Val regarding his reading of what's going on. Okay, next we had this about the Besu issues from the weekend. There was a post-mortem that was released by Besu here, so you can go and read this thread. Like, it's quite a short thread if you want, but what I really liked here was Hani Abu's kind of tweet thread about it. He says, post-mortem of Jan 6th Besu issues reveals someone attempted to attack the network. We must continue to strive for better client diversity to help better protect against these kind of scenarios. So he then tagged a bunch of the big staking services, and he says, on Christmas and New Year's, they were quiet for Besu nodes. There wasn't anything in particular that stood out as a problem until the morning of January 6th. The Besu engineer was the first to note that something was amiss when nearly all of our mainnet nodes halted at block 18947983, a freshly funded account that had deployed a contract and sent transactions, resulting in bad tree log that halted most versions of Besu on mainnet. So this was, something that was quite a big deal. And Hani says the risks here are too big to ignore. Halting bugs of this severity are eligible for Ethereum Foundation bug bounty program as well. So if you are working on a halting bug, you might be able to just get some money from the Ethereum Foundation instead of trying to destroy Ethereum. Please don't do that. Okay, then Besu, of course, to kind of save face a little bit, were putting out some fluff pieces about, how good their service is, and I guess just to kind of keep their users on side. So it says the Besu team wants to make sure that users are confident in the client and its EVM. Engineering efforts at Hedera have significantly improved the EVM performance over the past 2 years, measured in mega gas per second. We are continuously improving, and then there's a chart showing that improvement, and then it said the EVM is only one piece of execution performance. We'll be sharing an in-depth look shortly on our performance metrics of releases, and they will take into account more factors like database implementations, improvements, better caching, optimizations across the board, etc. So you can go and give that a read as well if you are interested in that. So next, the Goerli hard fork, the Cancun hard fork will be taking place on Goerli, and there's an announcement here from the Ethereum Foundation blog saying blobs are coming, and that will happen at 6:32 UTC, which is just after midnight in the US on the East Coast, on January 17th. So in 6 days from now, and then they're just giving you information about what's going to be in the hard fork, like which updates will be happening, and what's going to happen for Deneb, what's going to happen for Cancun, and then they're letting you know about the different client releases that are happening. So as always, leading up to a hard fork, whether it's for a testnet or mainnet, the clients kind of scramble to get everything done last minute. So here we have Sigma Prime with a Lighthouse release saying this is pre-release, not for mainnet. This is just for Goerli users if you want that. Here we had one from Geth as well saying Geth is out, which is functionally equivalent to yesterday's update, because we talked about Geth update yesterday. It says, but a fresh tag due to a mess up that case the bad 1.13.9 to be cached in Go's module repo. Apologies about that. So you can go and check that out as well. And then here there's a big update from Prism saying version 4.2.0 and this release is strongly recommended for all operators. The update has many bug fixes, security patches, and features that will improve the Prism experience on mainnet. This release has so many wonderful changes that we've deviated from our normal release notes format to aptly categorize the changes. So you can go and have a look at all the different changes that are taking place. But no, and there was here Yorick has some stuff to say about the new Besu update, and he was saying that sorry, not the Besu, the Prism update, and he was saying that Prism 4.2.0 contains important security features for mainnet according to Prism team. If you're using Prism on mainnet, make this update a priority. And then he says clarification for Prism is important, but not a 5 alarm fire. So he says it's important enough to run to the computer. It's not immediate enough to run to the computer from the shower while you are soaking wet, but you should prioritize your normal upgrade procedures to perform the upgrade as soon as practical. It's highly recommended to upgrade, not a fire emergency. So definitely keep that in mind if you are running the Prism client. Okay, next we had this comment here from Rocket Doc. So he says, so with the ETF on the cards, is the money play something like NodeSet offering ETH staking to institutional ETF fund holders? So I said that would be amazing. Nick, get in here. And then Rocket Doc says, like if there's going to be all this cash looking at holding ETH, surely holding ETH that is generating returns is the play. And do these institutions do it themselves, or do they look at the guys saying, here's ready-made product that works perfectly for you? And then Marceau actually popped in to trading, and he said this is the right take. So he was replying to non-fungible Yoakum. So non-fungible Yoakum was saying the big value in NodeSet is the KYC and performance monitoring that creates a node operators as a service platform for whoever wants the stake. So here Marceau said this is the right take. Also, NodeSet is talking to some of the big names in crypto. Pretty impressed with their ability to hustle. They're not messing around. So that's actually like really reassuring language that, they're going to hit the ground running. And then I put eyes on this, like saying Nick, who's one of the co-founders of NodeSet, is typing. So then Nick said, this is certainly something to think on. Constellation needs to be out and we need a track record of performance, not to mention compliance complexities. The big jump for big institutions go from ETH and then from Bitcoin, from Bitcoin to ETH and ETH to staked ETH. And that's a pretty considerable jump. So then Nick says, we're working on it, but there's no timeline yet for when Constellation will start. That's the integration with Rocket Pool, but they need Houston to be released, and that should be released hopefully in a few months' time. But Nick's not promising a timeline. Okay, next we had some discussion on EigenLayer again, and we got to see some agreement between Jasper and Val, who seems to have been on two different sides of the discussion. So here, Ramana asked, he says, did Jasper and Val come to an agreement on EigenLayer yet? And then Val said, we agree on almost everything, to be honest. Jasper just thinks they are inevitable and we have to join their empire, and I strongly disagree. And Nosha says, that's a minor difference, really. And then Ramana asked him, what's your plan to stop them, apart from not actively supporting? And he says, in part, they have real competition, so I might not have to. And then Jasper says the restaking as a concept is the idea that wins. And then Val says, insofar as there's a need, it's partly above my pay grade, like all core devs or big players level. So there was some discussion then about, what the competition is, like Pepsi or Celestia for EigenLayer or others as well, and what form they might take when it comes to getting this idea of restaking and making it big. But then there was some more discussion. So if you want to follow that discussion, just get to the link in the description and you can go and read up the discussion there. Okay, next, Phiz had some first very initial thoughts about the future of POAP. So he released that POAP yesterday, and he thinks some people were hesitant to mint it because the price was $26 or something. So he says, interested in your thoughts. He says he had this idea of something called a community mint. So he says, how about a new POAP delivery method that allows holders of some existing POAPs to mint a new POAP without going through checkout? He says, I'm obsessed with the POAP ecosystem and I've enjoyed watching as it helped bootstrap lots of strong communities in the Rocket Pool, ETHStake and ETH Finance communities among those. He says, I also noticed that people who are deeply engaged in the community feel offended when I develop a POAP and ask them to pay a few bucks for it as Sybil resistance measure. He says, I really understand this. I can feel extractive when the real intention is to add value. He says, imagine developing a POAP and then saying people who hold any of these other POAPs are eligible to mint this one for free. The control over community mint, rests with the POAP drop creator. It says this brings indirect value to POAP by driving significant value to the best POAPs, and it strengthens the community by giving POAP value to existing members without feeling taxed. So Jasper says a discount instead of free, so a POAP doesn't become insolvent, sounds decent. And other people were kind of bouncing ideas around about how it might work. So that's definitely a very early stage idea that Phiz is sharing, but hopefully it'll come to something because you all know that I love POAP as well. Okay, next though, in some other news, we've got some information here about Circle, the people who run the USDC stablecoin. They're looking to go for an initial product offering in the USA, which means they want to start, selling shares of their company on the stock exchange, or some kind of stock thing. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because you're going to start seeing stories like this a lot in the coming year, and not just stories of companies IPOing, but also token airdrops and companies starting. I think a whole lot of companies were kind of like on the DL like for the last couple of years because they knew that prices weren't good and it's not a good time to launch a product. When there's hype and you launch, you capture a lot of that hype and it gives you a big head start, or when you release a token, that's another time that you get a big head start as well. So it seems like there's a whole bunch of tokens that are potentially going to be airdropping, companies going to IPO, like trying to get on top of this this mania phase that we might or might not be entering, at some point in the next year or year and a half. So that's the reason why I'm mentioning it, is because I think a whole lot of eyes are going to start coming onto crypto in the very near future, and Circle seem to be thinking that as well. And for that reason, it looks like they want to try to get some liquidity out of their company and get it sold. Okay, so finally I'm going to end the episode with 2 shout outs. The first one here is on behalf of Joe, and he says, all right, you jokers, while you've been partying in here, Fornax has been pulling double shifts today, working on stuff. And he says he's asleep, but tomorrow you make sure you give him some love. So here, this is me giving Fornax love. Fornax, as you know, is like a member of the community who I really love. I was so happy when he joined the team, and it's really, really amazing to see that, he's working hard with the team and like making a really good impression on his colleagues. So, for Joe to come out and tell us all to send Fornax some love, I think that's really cool. So that's awesome. Yeah, Fornax, keep up the good work. And please, please, please get, that Australian ethos where you try to have a balance of work and life, because all work and no play is no fun for anyone. And finally, I'm going to end today's episode with a shout out to someone who has helped me recently, and that someone is Sneaky Ninja Guy. He has been on top of it with like submissions and like providing really quality content for the show. And I just want to say a huge thank you to Sneaky, because he is one of my like go-to guys for everything related to rocket fuel, whether that's content or even advice about the show and stuff. So thank you so much, Sneaky, as well. So on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. These last few days have been really exciting and really fun. So I hope you've all been enjoying them. I know that, the price rise really impacts sentiment, and the sentiment has, I feel, shifted a lot. So that's really wonderful. And yeah, I hope you really enjoyed these periods, because, we've had a tough year of pretty much down only for, 8 months or 9 months, whatever it was. And now it looks like we're finally coming through on the other side. So hopefully we can all like enjoy this period and not get lost in the charts and hopium, because that does not help anyone. So please get out, touch grass, take a break from the Discord, even if the prices are going high. Unless you're actively trading, there's no need to keep such a close eye on it. And I'm telling this to myself as much as I am to all of you, because I've had 2 horrible nights of sleep because I keep waking up and wanting to check what's happening, and that is not healthy. So on that note, I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I know I already said that, but I'll see you all tomorrow, and I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.